Launch code. Access granted. A millionaire.
Hello, welcome to this Microsoft Excel class. I am your host and instructor, Ruben Herrera. And on this lesson, my friends, we are going to learn how to create macro buttons in Excel. So let's get started. So here is our scenario. Lady is a college student. She works at Pizza Hut and she is very good with her money. She pays for some of her school supplies to help her parents. But after she pays, her bills, her car insurance, and so forth, she established a budget for herself. So every so often, I think it's a month, she gives herself a budget of $200 that she can spend on herself, and she records her expenses right here on this spreadsheet. We have some formulas for her that will remind her that she only has $200 to spend. It'll give her remaining balance. As she enters all her expenses in here, it'll give her right here a total of how much money uh, she has left to, I mean, how much money she has spent so far. But the real goal is right here to assign a macro or to make this button live so that after she is done recording all her expenses, or when she is done for that spending cycle, she can just click right here or press right here on this reset button, and it will clear all the information, all the data, or all her expenses that she entered in here. So for this, my friends, we are going to make this button live by assigning a macro to it. Okay, very nice. So but there are different ways to create buttons in Excel. First of all, there's one where you can activate or enable the developers tab. There's another way where you can actually code a macro so that you can create your button. But I'm going to show you guys the easiest way to create a button in Excel, and that is by actually making shapes or inserting shapes into my spreadsheet. And this is what it is. This is a shape. I've just made it look like a button with this little 3D, this little shade right here, this effect right here. So I'm gonna just for right now just create another spreadsheet, and I'm gonna show you guys how to create a button the easiest way. So I'm gonna create right here. We need to create first the image, by the way, before we can assign the macro to it. Very nice. I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna click right here on insert. I'm gonna click right here on shapes, and I can insert any of these shapes in here. But I'm gonna go ahead and just insert this one right here, the one that looks more like a button, and I'm gonna draw a shape. Very nice. So that's my shape in there. It looks very nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click my shape so that it can be selected. And I know that it's selected because I have the sizing buttons right here, these sizing circles right here. Okay, these are sizing handles, I should say. And now we have an additional format tab where I can apply formatting to this shape right here that I have selected. So I'm just going to go in here, click in here, and there is a formatting that I like very much right here. This one gives the shape sort of like a 3D effect kind of shadow. Very nice. You see, that's my button right there. There's also another thing that many people doesn't know about shapes, but you can also type inside of the shapes. But many people don't know this because you don't see, Excel doesn't give you a cursor right there, a blinking cursor to let you know that you can type. So I'm just going to put clear right here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and click away and click back on my button. And I'm going to go back to my home tab, and I'm going to go ahead and center and also align my text in the middle. I'm going to make it bold, and I'm also going to make it a little bigger. I believe maybe 18 or 16 is a sweet spot. Very nice. You can assign whatever color you like to whatever shape you like. You can also insert pictures, okay, and you can assign macro to those pictures if you like, make them clickable. And not only you can assign macros to execute formatting or clearing data, but you can also use buttons to navigate from one sheet to another within the same report. And that's very nice. It makes it look very professional. Now, if my this is an extra tip. This is a tip, an extra tip. If your spreadsheet is planning if you're planning for your spreadsheet to have more than one button, I like to work smart. I'm a very picky guy and I'm very methodical, and I like to have consistency on all my buttons. So what I do, I select once I create that button that I am happy with, I select that button, go right here on my ribbon, click copy, and then click on paste as many times or as many buttons as I need. This way I have consistency on all my buttons. All my buttons are gonna look and shape exactly the same, and I can just change the text on them. Okay, very nice. So this is how we create the image for our buttons. I hope you like this mini tutorial. Now let us go back to our to assigning our macro. I'm going to go back to this sheet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do first, before I assign my macro, I need to record my macro. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start my macro right here. And on an earlier lesson, we learned how to create macros the easiest way. So I'm going to create a macro so that it is going to, so that when I click right here on this reset button, after I assign it to this button, it's going to clear all this data and let it can start either another month or another spending cycle, and she can enter her information again. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to click right here to start creating my macro. I'm going to go right here to view. I'm going to click right here on macros, and I'm going to click right here on record a macro. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead right here and create my macro, and I'm going to uh, name my macro right here. I'm not going to assign a shortcut key, because when you assign a macro to a shape or image, the shortcut key actually gets disabled. So we're not going to use that. We're not going to assign a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to store this macro on this workbook, because I only want this button to work for this workbook right here. The description, you guys know that is optional, but when I type my description, and if I type my description, I like to make them meaningful and that explain what that macro is doing for me. I'm gonna go ahead and start recording my steps on my macro, and I'm gonna go ahead and click OK. What I'm gonna do, my friends, remember the goal is just to clear all this data, so I'm just gonna do this very nice and simple. Very nice. And then on my keyboard, I'm going to press the delete key, not backspace, but delete. Boom, the data is deleted now. I'm going to go ahead and click back in here. So this is where I want to end my macro. Now I'm going to stop recording my macro by clicking right here on this button. Boom, very nice. Now my macro is recorded. So I can go back and make sure that my macro was recorded successfully. So when I click right here on view macros, there's my macro right there. I can run my macro also to make sure that it runs successfully the way I want it. It looked like it did. Very nice. Now the last step, the next step is going to be to assign that macro to this button right here. Okay, and this is a very easy thing to do. As a matter of fact, this is the easiest part of this tutorial. This is the easiest step. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this button once, and then I'm going to right click. These, my friends, right here, this is called the pop-up menu. Here's the mini toolbar. So right here on the pop-up menu, notice that I have an option that says right here, assign macro. Assign macro. Remember, my friends, I can assign a macro to any shape or even a picture in my Excel workbook. So I'm going to click right here. Very nice. Here I'm going to see the list of all my macros. So I'm going to click right here on reset button on the reset button. Notice a little bit earlier before I click right here, I have the option to record my macro on the fly. I don't like doing that. I like to pre-record my macro and maybe run it a couple of times, make sure that it runs right before I actually assign it. Okay, I'm just working smart, or trying to anyways. I'm gonna click OK, and voila, that's it. My button right now is live, and a macro is being assigned to that button, and I can tell because look, you see that little, my mouse pointer is now this little hand right here that is telling me that this button now is clickable. Now let us take this button, this macro, for a test drive. So I'm going to go ahead, pretend that I am Letty, and I'm going to put some expenses in here. She loves Taco Bell. So I'm gonna put some expenses right here. Then she went to the movies with her friends, or maybe she went to the movies with her boyfriend, which I don't like. Very nice. No, I'm just kidding. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pretend that Lady already probably fill all this is this range right here with all her expenses, and then she's done either for the month or that spending cycle. She has some money left. This is how much money she spent. Well, she spent way more than that, but anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and click my reset button. Boom, voila. Did you see that all the data got clear, and now Leticia, or Letty as she wants to be called, she can start her new spending budget or her new spending cycle budget. Very nice. And this, my friends, this is how we assign macros to buttons in Excel. And I hope that you like this video and you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for being here, and you guys have a great day.
Launch code. Access granted.